Yields back. The gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Himes, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, before I begin my questions, I'd like to submit the following statements into the hearing from the Interfaith Center on Corporate Responsibility, Out Leadership, and Affiliated Businesses, Series, U.S. Impact Investing Alliance, USSIF, Americans for Financial Reform, the Shareholder Rights Group, and Green America.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We've had bank failures, Silicon Valley Bank. The government had to step in. I'm hearing so much about the proper role of government. The government had to step in, just as it did when I was a freshman in this institution, to rescue the banking sector. We've had the bank failures. We're working in great bipartisan fashion on cryptocurrency, on regulation there, stable coins, FTX. We don't want that to happen again. The SEC is very active. I understand your side doesn't like that. My side may like it more, but we got so much to talk about. And here we are devoting a week to telling private corporations that they're mad for exercising the rights that they have in a free market. It is mind-blowing to me. Now look, I'm a Democrat, or actually, I'm an analytical human being. So when I see the fact that the 7 hottest days in recent history were in the last week, that feels like a crisis to me. Now, my colleague, Mr. Norman, doesn't feel that way. I'm wondering about our witnesses here, and I'll get more particular here. But of the witnesses, show of hands real quickly, how many of you guys don't accept the scientific consensus that anthropogenic carbon burning is causing an alteration for the worse in our climate? Anybody not accept that? If you don't accept that, raise your hand. Okay, we have one witness who denies the scientific consensus on climate change. The rest of our witnesses, the other 4, are not raising their hands. I can't breathe in the state of Connecticut because of fires in Quebec. Florida is going to be underwater in a generation. This is a crisis. And you know what we do in a crisis? We mobilize as a government. Now, I took some economics, so I can tell you that there is a free market, Mr. American Enterprise Institute, I'll come back to you. There is a free market reason to intervene here, which is that we're not pricing in the externalities of the burning of carbon. And the free market will not solve this crisis that 4 out of 5 of you acknowledge is real and serious. I'm on the Intelligence Committee. We have a real diversity problem within the IC. These are magnificent organizations. The CIA does great work. It is still too much what it was a generation ago, pale, male, Yale. And they're working really hard to change that. And if they don't change that, they're not going to be the powerful organization that they need to be. What are we doing here? The state of Texas is losing money because they forbade bond underwriters that are woke, whatever that means, from participating in municipal auctions for bonds in the state of Texas. The state of Texas is losing millions of dollars because of this anti-woke crusade. The last point I want to make is that I respect those on the right who say that we should have free markets. We should. But isn't the whole point of the free market that corporations get to make their own decisions? And yeah, it's a combination of the board and the shareholders, but they get to make their own decisions. And if they make bad decisions, consumers will punish them. Consumers will punish them. So if you believe in economics, and Mr. Zeiker, I have a lot of respect for the American Enterprise Institute. I go to your conferences from time to time. It's, I think, a principled voice for more right-wing philosophy. Where am I wrong about saying that Congress has no role, that the state of Texas has no role in formally or informally telling players in free markets that they shouldn't be woke? Is that a free market thing for the government at the state of Texas level or at the federal level to be saying we're angry about your wokeness? Is that consistent with free market principles?
That is not the premise. The premise is whether or not a regulatory agency should be promulgating rules that force firms and funds to make decisions or to delegate decision-making in ways that are not consistent with the fiduciary interests of their shareholders and fund participants. The issue is not whether Congress or the state of Texas should tell people how to spend their money. Of course that's true.
Well, that's the larger issue. One party here is running an entire presidential campaign premised on the notion, talk to Disney, that government should bludgeon corporations into their philosophical framework. I'm having a little trouble with this conversation, sir, because you were the one person who raised your hand saying you didn't believe in anthropogenic climate change.
No, that's not what I said, Congressman. That is not what I said.
Well,
That is not what
I'll
your
yield
statement
back.
was.
Chairman's time has
Not what I
expired.
disagreed with.
Time has expired.